We are back with episode 3 of the Final Whistle podcast. 3 episodes in, and we're running. We've not faltered yet, which is a good thing. It's very, very positive. But next episode we're going to try and get another guest on. But today we're going to look at week 1 of the NFL results. And maybe for somebody that's listening or watching that isn't a fan of the NFL and looking to get into the sport, week 1 is the reason. This sport is incredible. We've been in Disneyland Paris over the weekend, so I actually watched Packers Lions whilst watching the fireworks at Disneyland Paris, and that is commitment. But week 1 is the reason everybody should get into this sport, because we had some phenomenal games, phenomenal players, really, really, really good results. But the first game we're going to talk about, game 2. Chiefs Chargers in Sao Paulo, and obviously the Packers played there last year, and that's the reason we didn't have a great season, I thought, because Jordan Love got injured in the first game and never really looked the same after it. But the thing I want to talk about, the Chiefs dynasty is over. And last week, when I said about my deluded opinion, I think that I said the Chiefs wouldn't make the AFC conference game. I still believe that. Andy Reid, I think, is the best coach in the NFL. I love Andy Reid. And he won a Super Bowl with the Packers. He was a tight ends coach with Brett Favre. But I love him. Spagnuolo, unreal defensive coordinator. Patrick Mahomes, gonna go down as probably the greatest quarterback that has ever played. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's Tom Brady. But it's over. Every good sports team goes through this blip. The Patriots went through it. United have been through it. We're still going through it, but we beat Burnley, and that's the positive. We went through that blip under Sir Alex Ferguson where we didn't win the Premier League for a couple of years, and we went through that little bit of a transition of rebuilding the team, restructuring. I think that is now the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Chargers has always been one of those teams. Like Colin Cowherd on the Herd loves the Chargers. Always kind of says at the beginning of every season, they're going to do well, they're going to do this, going to do that. And they never really do it. But they looked really good. And when I was watching that game, I was thinking, are the Chargers looking unbelievable? Or are the Chiefs just having a little bit of a wobble? Because that wide receiver core, it's not the best. It's not what you would want. It's not there. They are in that transition moment now of trying to get the next crop of players. The sad thing is Travis Kelce, obviously going out with Taylor Swift, they're engaged in whatever. People make that relationship such a negative thing towards the NFL. I don't get it. Like, his relationship with Taylor has opened up the sport to new fans, opened up the sport to daughters, girlfriends, and that is brilliant. But that isn't the reason that he's not playing very well. His relationship with Taylor Swift isn't the reason he didn't have a great season last year. He's not the reason that he's probably not going to have a great season this season. He's getting old. Let me find out the age of Travis Kelce. He is... Travis Kelce, age 35. I'm 35. Me and Travis are the same age. I play flag football. And let me tell you, just from playing flag, my body hurts. Physically hurts. And we play 20-minute halves, 40 minutes a game. So it's less than a Sunday league game, and it hurts. He's 35 years old. His birthday's on the 5th of October, so he's just turned 35. He's playing in the NFL. He's getting old. He's moving on with his life. So to kind of be like, oh, Taylor this, Taylor that, it's a lot of nonsense. The team's getting older. They need to regroup. They need to replenish. That's why the Chiefs ain't going to make the Super Bowl for the next couple of years. But that game in particular was really, really good. Daniel Jones for the Indianapolis Colts is the reason I love the NFL, because the NFL is so analytical, it's so stat based, it's so everything is about stats. When Daniel Jones went to the Colts, I personally, I would, tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong or you heard different. Everybody said it was nuts because he wasn't great in New York. Everybody said he wasn't going to do anything. It's such a crazy move for the Colts. Game one, he absolutely lit it up. He was unbelievable. That performance is the reason the NFL is incredible. And that is the reason I think with this podcast as well. I'm not going to make it analytical because we can talk about stats. We can talk about this. We can talk about that. But you just need one game. Sam Darnold is a really good example for quarterbacks. That sometimes you just need a team. When he was at the Vikings last year, he was brilliant. He was sort of MVP candidate Sam Darnold, and he's been to the Jets. He was at the Niners, at the Seahawks. That never really he was never in that contention, even though he was quite a high draft pick. The team just fit for him, and it worked. Is that the Colts for Daniel Jones? Because a lot of people say, and I tend to agree with this, the quarterback position is the hardest position in sport, along with Manchester United goalkeeper, which I am in agreement with Gary Neville with. It's a really tricky position. So when kids get drafted into the NFL and they're a number one pick and they're a QB, they're not rubbish. It's not like they are one of 32 other people that are going to start in that position. How many strikers are in the Premier League? How many right wingers are in the Premier League that you can count on and rotate? Look at Liverpool. Spent nearly £500 million in one transfer window. You look at the benches, they've now got players to bring on that are going to change a game. You haven't got that as a QB. Usually your number two QB is going to be all right, not good enough to start. Daniel Jones is good enough to start, and I loved that he absolutely lit that up. Speaking of quarterbacks, so the last guest that we had on, Emerson Lehman, who is a news anchor for WBay TV out in Green Bay, and we were talking about Green Bay, and his delusional opinion was that Russell Wilson and the New York Giants are going to go into the playoffs. Game one isn't really going to back that up. And I was a big fan of Russell Wilson, but he's another one that you just think the Seahawks was that team and it fit and it worked and it was great. And those moves afterwards haven't really, they've not helped. They're not sat right. I know he went to the Broncos. He didn't really do anything. But when I talk about age, and we talk about Travis Kelce, and we talk about kind of maybe Russell Wilson, the age is maybe age is catching up with them. What about Aaron Rodgers? The game against Dallas for the Packers, they had the reunion for the last Super Bowl win. McCarthy was there, and all those players came back, and it was incredible as a Packers fan to be able to see that. But the play that was missing was Aaron Rodgers, and that is because Aaron Rodgers is still tearing it up in the NFL for the Steelers. And I think if you go back and watch that game against the Steelers, that is a really, really solid game of just thinking, wow. That wasn't the Rodgers that we saw for the Jets last season. That was Aaron Rodgers coming out with an absolute point to prove. I think he said in the press conference afterwards, didn't it? He wanted to beat the Jets. It felt like he had to beat them. And that competitive nature and drive, I was just watching it thinking, wow, that is incredible to see somebody at that age still performing at such a high level. The game of the weekend, obviously, is the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. And I was speaking to a friend over the weekend, and I was in Paris, and he was like, oh, who do you think for, Super Bowl? What do you reckon? Who's it going to be? And I naturally said, if the Packers beat the Lions, I think we play in the NFC Championship. I'm going to talk about who I think we're going to play in a bit. I was like, I think we get there. And it was like, oh, I'm going to watch the Bills-Ravens game. I quite fancy the Ravens. And the Ravens and the Bills baffle me because it feels like even before the Ravens got Derrick Henry, the Ravens were like, they're always touted as being a favourite. They're always a bookie's favourite. They're always analysts' favourites of going, the team is there, the coach is there, the QB is there. They've got everything there to kind of make a really good run at the Super Bowl, and they're probably going to be there, and they'll be there from the AFC. That will be the team from the AFC. But then when you watch them, you're like, are they? Because even last year, they were so dominant. They had such a good season, but then they fall apart. It feels like they can never just beat those teams in those types of games. And I didn't watch this game. I watched highlights when I got back home. I was kind of watching it thinking, they are a great football team. They're very, very talented, but if they can't shut out the Bills and win that game, are they going to make it to the Super Bowl? No. Even though the AFC at the moment is so weak, when you look at the teams of the AFC, you're thinking, now the Chiefs are kind of like, I think, in that transitioning period, who is going to get there? Who is going to be that team from the AFC? And it is probably either going to be the Chiefs. I don't think it will be. Ravens are in there. The Bills are always spoken about being there. Could the Commanders sneak in? But then who else? So it feels like if the Ravens don't do it now, is that ever going to happen for them? Because it blows my mind that every single season they are really, really pushed as being they're a favourite, they're going to get there, this is their year, and then they kind of fall apart. Speaking of teams that fall apart and are always deemed as favourites, the Bills. Is it finally the Bills' year? Is this now their year to finally get there, to finally get over the hump, beat the Chiefs, and then make it to the Super Bowl? Yes. Yes. I'm going to say AFC Championship game is going to be... Oh dear. I'm going to say the AFC Championship game is going to be the Buffalo Bills versus... oh gosh. The Ravens as a rematch from week 1. The Bills are going to beat them, and then the Bills will make it to the Super Bowl. That's my pitch. I think Bills winning week 1 is going to make them better, it's going to make them stronger, and the fact that everybody else around them is struggling a little bit. So I'm going to make that pitch. Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl. Speaking of Josh Allen, I said last year I interviewed Phoebe Schechter for, I think it was for Sky Sports. No, for Green King Pubs it was. And we were talking about the Bills. And I was talking about Josh Allen. And I said to her, in a world, Josh Allen is the perfect Packers quarterback. I love him. Plays in cold weather, gunslinger, built strong. He's perfect. I think he's an unbelievable QB. And if I could swap Jordan Love for anyone, it would be Josh Allen. I think he's incredible. So I'm going to say that this is the year of the Bills. But as a new fan, if you haven't watched that game, that is the game that is going to get you sucked into the NFL, going to make you enjoy it, because it was a very, very good game. It was very good. Now on to the Green Bay Packers. Speechless. Speechless for the Packers. What a performance. The defense, Jordan Love, the wide receiver room. everything just felt like it fit. It absolutely just fit into place for us, and we were incredible. But my slight reservation with it is I do believe we'll make it to the Super Bowl. I believe Parsons coming in has absolutely been a transformative thing for the organization, and it's going to be special. But Lions didn't look like the Lions. Last year we were really lucky to go out to Detroit and watch Lions Packers there. They were so dominant, even though we kind of kept in the game and we played well, but they were formidable. They looked so on point. They were a tough team to beat, and it was kind of third quarter. I was sat there thinking we're miles behind this team. But then watching them against the Packers, I was like, yes, we're playing well, and we are naturally going to take all the plaudits from this because of the energy around the team and everything. Lions didn't look like the Lions. They looked slow. They looked out of rhythm. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't look like that team that was going to beat the Packers. And they beat us twice last year. They came into Lambeau and destroyed us. They were so good, but yeah, it didn't look like the Lions. And I think that is a team that over the past couple of years, couple of seasons, have absolutely cemented that identity of who they are. And when we went to Detroit and we're talking to our friends and people about the team, it's all that, it's grit and it's playing it the Detroit way. I was just watching it thinking this feels easy. Whereas last year, I don't think it did. They battered us twice. And yeah, I just thought, is this game a little bit of a red herring where you're thinking, okay, yes, we've beat a divisional rival, which you're always happy to do, and it's a team that won the division last year and we're very serious contenders for the Super Bowl. Naturally, that is an uplifting thing, but maybe don't be too fooled because they didn't look great at all. And I think the big test is going to be week 2, where we play the Washington Commanders. I know they played the Giants, was it? They played the Giants. They beat them 21-6. I think that is the biggest test. The biggest reason for that is Micah Parsons versus Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is the head coach of the Washington Commanders now, but he was the defensive coordinator for many years of the Dallas Cowboys. And I think Dan Quinn, because he was the head coach at the Falcons, struggled to win them a Super Bowl, and if you're a fan of the NFL, you kind of know that story. And then he went to the defensive coordinator at the Cowboys, transferred that defense into an unbelievable unit, and they were fantastic. Got the absolute best out of Micah Parsons, and if there is going to be anybody that is going to know how to shut Micah Parsons down, it is going to be Dan Quinn, and it is going to be the matchup that I think is going to be setting us up for, are we now in that place to make it to the Super Bowl? Watching that Lions game, I just kept thinking, this is good, this is great, but it ain't the Lions. Week 2. I think if we can beat the Commanders, that then solidifies this thing of we are now Super Bowl contenders, I think. But I also thought, watching it, Commanders-Packers is going to be the NFC game. I think that'll be it. I think the way we are, obviously the Eagles are a very big threat in the NFC, but I just think we'll do it. I think that is the vibe around this now, that we're going to get to the Super Bowl, but week 2 is the bigger test, I think. Next up, we're going to go through the schedule for week 2, and we're going to go quick fire results. Packers Commanders, I'm going to take the Packers, and the Packers are going to win, but it's going to be a very, very tough game. Cowboys Giants. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to go rogue. I think the Giants beat the Cowboys, and it is an upset. Steelers, Seahawks. I'm going to take the Steelers. Titans, Rams. I'm going to take Rams. Jets, Bills. I'm going to take the Bills. Dolphins, Patriots. What is happening with the Miami Dolphins? That is a way bigger conversation because they did not look good. And I'm going to say Dolphins are the first head coach that gets fired this season. That is my punt for that one. But I'm going to take the Patriots. I think the Patriots beat the Dolphins. Bengals, Jags. I'm going to take the Bengals. Saints, Niners. I'm going to take the Saints. Ravens, Browns. I'm going to take the Ravens. Colts, Broncos. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. Cardinals, Panthers. I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers. Chiefs, Eagles. I'm going to take the Chiefs. No, I'm going to take the Eagles. What have I just said? I think the Eagles are going to absolutely batter them. Monday night, I'm going to take Vikings, Falcons. I'm going to take Vikings. Texans, Bucks. I'm going to take the Bucks. Raiders, Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers. The game that I missed, Lions, Bears, on the Sunday night, 6 o'clock UK time. Bears played the Vikings over the weekend, and the Vikings beat them. The Bears are getting a lot of stick. I thought they looked all right. I think you could see a little bit of an improvement with them, but time will tell. I am going to say with this, this is my punt for this weekend. I am going to say that the Bears beat the Lions. Ben Johnson, when he took the job, of the Bears, it was all, oh, we like beating the Packers, blah, blah, blah. You're the head coach of the Bears, mate, so let's put that into perspective. I think he goes knowing the organisation of the Lions, knowing how they're going to set up. The Lions are still with that new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. They didn't look like the Lions. I think the Bears turn it around and they beat the Lions. That is my probably a deluded opinion, but that is my absolute take for week 2. Going forward into the rest of kind of September, I think this month absolutely sets it up for the Packers, and I think it's very, very positive to be a Green Bay Packers fan at the moment. So that's our NFL roundup done. Going into it, and we're only going to talk more about it next week, 14th of September is the Manchester Derby. When we spoke to Emerson, he's a massive Sunderland fan, and we were kind of talking about how the resurgence of soccer in America, people are starting to support these really random teams because of Netflix documentaries like Sunderland Till I Die. You've got the Wrexham documentary. And he spoke about Manchester City. Because for any Packers fans or any NFL fans or anybody listening in America, Lambeau held its first ever soccer game. And I think it was the year before Lauren and I went to go and watch Packers Cowboys. And it was Manchester City versus Bayern Munich. So when we went to Green Bay, you'd see the odd City flag, which was mind-blowing for us. Because I've always grown up with City not being the best team in the world. So to see all that, and you get those questions, where are you from? Oh, Manchester City. You're like, yeah, who's Sean Goater? Nicky Weaver? Zabaleta? Do you know who these players are? And they just look at you blank. But he talked to me afterwards about the Manchester Derby. And talking about the Packers, being that the game against the Commanders sets up our season of how much are we actually going to challenge. Ignore the Lions, let's look at the Commanders. I think this Manchester Derby is going to absolutely solidify who's going to have a good season. City are playing so un-City-like at the moment, but Rodri's not fit. Pep's having a little bit of a wobble, I think. Donnarumma coming is so un-Pep-like because he wants those keepers to play with his feet and Donnarumma can't play with his feet. And I think that is unfortunate for Trafford because we went to watch a few Burnley games last year because Lauren's a Burnley. She's from Burnley, so we went to watch a couple of games. And he looked good. He looked like a really good player. And if you were ever going to bring a keeper in, it would be somebody that's good with his feet so we can learn from him. And Donnarumma can't do that. So that was a bit baffling, but whatever. This sets up who is going to be the best team in Manchester and who's going to have the better season. Because I think Amorim's taken a lot of flack, and I watch a lot of United content and other people having opinions on it, and everybody talks about the system. The system's not good. The system. We could have been 3-0 up against Fulham if Kuna would have scored those goals. We're not playing awful. I think we're integrating players into the system. And Onana leaving is positive. The goalkeeping situation is going to be tricky, but we're moving on players that aren't good enough to play for Manchester United. And I think if we can beat City, I think it's at the Etihad, isn't it? We have a good record against City, and dare I say it, if we beat them, I think we do push for the top 4. I think we can finish in the top 4 because this team are not playing to their best, but there is something there. I think for the first time in years, you're looking at a United team that you're thinking, right, there is a nucleus there. There is something that we can build on. We haven't had that in such a long time that I think we just need that fixture to go out and batter someone. And why can't that be Manchester City? Because they're not playing well. We have a good record against them. And if we can do it, that is such a positive thing to push on for. That's going to be my take. Sunday the 4th of September, 4:30 kickoff. Manchester United beat Manchester City 2-0 in the Manchester derby. I never know how to end these things. My literal head just went, and that was the podcast now. But producer Lauren's not here, so we're not going to sing. Next episode, we're looking to get a guest on. So I'll put some at Instagram. We're setting up a TikTok channel. We are on YouTube, so give us a follow, give us a listen. If you want to come on the show and talk to us and give us your opinions, we are looking for people to come on. The only rule is you can't be a weirdo. That's my rule. If you're a weirdo, we ain't having you. We want to talk to some fans. We want to talk to some NFL fans, some football fans. Let's get your opinions on your teams. And you can come on and we'll have a chat. I'll see you in the next episode. 3rd episode. We're going strong. I feel like a newsreader. Thank you very much.